So the next section that we have is about gaming, which I think is probably a big one for you. What is your current setup?
So I have a 2 monitor setup, which especially as a DM helps because I can have the game on one screen, or on my Wednesday game I can have just a Discord up, and then all my notes on another screen.
I love notes.
Yeah, I do. Like I showed my Wednesday game the notes for the campaign, and I think I was scrolling for like a solid 5 minutes. Like, yeah, no, it's just the extra workspace makes life so much easier.
Yeah.
I've got a I can't. I'm gonna have to flip it over. A Razer Death Adder Elite Tournament Edition gaming mouse. I've got an off-brand mechanical keyboard called a Havoc KB25. I never took the label off the bottom, so I can just.
Well, thank goodness you didn't, because now we have all the answers.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I won't press anything now, but I'll like do like a little cutaway section where I'm just like hitting the keys so you can hear the clicky sounds of it.
Oh, extra good clickies.
I'll get like the microphone right up close and. I love clicky keyboards, but and then the PC itself isn't. I don't know if it can be considered mid-end or like mid-level or whatever it is. I've got 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. I have an i3 10100F processor, which isn't amazing, but I've got a GeForce 1660 Super in there, and my power supply fans aren't anything special; they're all generic. But I built this PC with the exception of the graphics card and the power supply for £250. The graphics card, if I was to buy this graphics card again, it probably would have gone up to around 1,000.
Yeah.
Because graphics cards, as we've discussed before, are ridiculously expensive.
But I mean, even because I imagine that you can run really high quality stuff for doing what you do. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, technology is expensive. think about the cost of a cell phone, but to have all of that, even with a really expensive graphics card, I think you're probably still getting away pretty cheaply.
Yeah. I only really paid for the motherboard, the processor, and the RAM, and the case, and that cost. Yeah, like that was where the 250 went.
Yeah.
It is a workhorse. Like I can run most games, even like modern games, I can run at like high to ultra settings, either at 4K or like high definition.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a great little computer. I had a bit of a snafu with it the other week where I knocked the hard drive and lost a lot of stuff. But that's fine.
That's okay.
Just dealing with it.
Add it to like 2020 through present day. Just yeah,
all the screaming's internalized.
What got you into gaming? Was it so you could soothe the internal screamings of everyday life?
I mean, you're not far off. So I wouldn't say I had a troubled childhood, but when I was 8 years old, I was diagnosed with ADHD and a variation of Tourette's called motor Tourette's. It might have a more scientific name, but I was kind of seen as a threat to life. Just because, like, if I was outside and I had like one of my hyperactive spurts, I could either get myself seriously hurt or I might accidentally seriously hurt someone else. So to counteract that, my parents got me like gaming consoles like PlayStation, Nintendo 64 and all that, and I just spent my life escaping to fantasy worlds. And yeah, I don't know, but it wasn't until I played like The Legend of Zelda, which is where I then got absolutely hooked, like just fell in love with video gaming. Majora's Mask specifically as well, which I've talked about on a previous video. Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, I wish I was outside more," because when I got older and like they could trust me a bit more, I did. I went outside, and I probably stopped gaming for a good 3 to 4 years, like only really playing something in the evening. But yeah, no, gaming has been a big part of my life, and it's something because everyone wants to be good at something, knowledgeable about something. For some people it's like sports, for some people it's science. For me, it's like video games and video game culture in general. So, yeah.
It's interesting. Late night conversations talking about life in the world and stuff like that. But I feel like the topic of regret gets brought up a lot. And the older I get, the more I realize that you can have stages in your life that maybe you kind of on the surface wish maybe went a different way, but ultimately all paths that you took led you to where you are now.
Yeah.
And so if you went back, would you have chosen that path for you? Maybe not, but it's led you to where you are now, which is,
Thinking about it, I probably would have dropped a console on my lap earlier.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I never played a video game before. Like I can tell you the age and the game of the first game I ever played.
Oh.
I was 4 years old. My mum had just dropped me off in like some daycare thing while her and my nan went out to do some shopping. Mm-hmm. And they had a Master System 2 in there. And this one kid's like, "Oh, like you can move the pictures, you can make the pictures do stuff." I'm like, "Oh, wow." It was a game called Transbot. And it was just like a little space shooter. You fly around the screen and you collect letters of the alphabet and it gave you a new weapon. But it was my first experience with like an interactive medium, and it just
opened up a whole different world for you.
Yeah, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, and like I always enjoyed video games, but I think it wasn't until I got to play like Zelda.
Yeah.
That's when it cemented in me.
So you've mentioned it, and obviously you did a whole separate episode on it. Somebody asked, "Is Majora's Mask still your favorite game?"
Yeah. It's kind of like video games. Like I was just saying, like finding Zelda was basically the profound experience I needed. I went into Majora's Mask thinking it was just going to be another like light-hearted, happy game, bright colors, la la la, and it's probably one of the most depressing games Nintendo has ever made. Like it got to a point where people started making this theory that the different parts of Majora's Mask represented like the 5 stages of grieving. So like acceptance, anger, denial, and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if you are in a good mood and you don't want to be anymore, play an hour of Majora's Mask. Like
that's not a way to sell it, I don't think. If you're really happy and you feel like you just want to bring yourself down, pick up this game.
No, I mean it's the game that when I was old enough to realise that it was talking about things like depression, it was the game that made me go to like my doctor and be like, I need some help with this. I think I'm depressed. And then I got like my bipolar diagnosis. I got my anxiety and all that. Yeah, it might not have been what Nintendo had planned, but that game helped me figure out struggles I was having.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big thing to be able to voice those things and those feelings to somebody else and admit that you need help when you're in that position. And it's terrible because it shouldn't be. No. But it is because of, reasons that it is. But the fact that that game facilitated that for you is really kind of incredible.
Yeah. And it was a Zelda game of all things as well.
Yeah. So then another question is, and this comes from Wales, if you could only play one game on repeat for the rest of your life, what would it be? I want to say that game is very special to you, but maybe it's a little sad to play every day for the rest of your life.
like, there's only so much depressed you want to be.
Yeah.
And I'd probably say Borderlands 2 would be the game, because it's coming up to being 10 years old now anyway. And I play that game for a couple of hours at least once a week. And across consoles and the fact that I'm playing it on PC now, I managed to like get a rough estimate of about 6,000 hours put into that game. Yeah, and I could probably do another 6,000.
It's a lot of hours.
Yeah.
What about it makes you want to not only have spent that much time doing it, but potentially even say that you would spend that amount of time again on it?
I think it's got a really good story to it. It's got some of my favourite characters in video games. It's got a bad guy in it who is considered almost unanimously across the board to be one of the best video game villains ever written. But there's also, like, because it's called a looter shooter, like, there's always a better gun to pick up. Then there's perfect versions of those guns.
Yep.
I think it's like the grind to, even though you might have a maxed out character who can one shot all of the big bosses and whatever, but it's the fact that you want. So, like, a perfect example is there is a shield you can get called the Sham, and there's a variation of it called the 94%, which is the rarest item in the game. There are people, including myself, who have put probably hundreds of hours into just getting this shield. I can't remember what. I'll put it up on the screen somewhere, but the chances of getting this, I think it's something ridiculous, like 1 in 100. I don't want to put a number up because I'll probably make myself sound like an idiot. But it's like an astronomical chance of getting this. And I think it's that grind to want to get that stuff so you can brag and like, look, I've got. It's like,
yeah.
But yeah,
just thinking, 1 in 637,842.
I'm gonna do a quick Google search of it.
Yeah. It sounds like, so when I play games, I mean, not to that extent, but when I play games, I am for sure a side quester. And so if I'm playing a game with somebody and they left some like vase that they didn't smash to see if there was treasure in it, it just makes my eye twitch a little bit, because I just always want to make sure I've 100% cleared the area that I'm in before I go on. I don't have to go back. I don't want to have to go back.
No. So the Sham on its own has a 3.33% chance of dropping. From what I'm seeing here, you get a 0.02% chance of getting the perfect one. Which means you would have to kill the boss that drops him at least 3,750 times.
Yeah. So how many times do you think you've killed the boss so far?
I'm probably close across the board against all consoles. Like, I'm probably very close to that.
That's impressive.
My grind for it is slightly less tedious than others because there's a character who can one-shot the boss. So the longest part is like reloading the game and then going back to it. But yeah, no, I don't think I've got a 92% Sham, which is like my big brag. But
yeah,
no, that 94.
It's not the 94.
No, it's not the 94.
Okay, so if you could be any video game character, who would you choose and why? Would it be from Borderlands?
No, and I as soon as I started hearing that, I thought, oh, maybe I'd pick Dante from Devil May Cry again because, you know, it's kind of the same question. But no, I know I would be a character called Adam Jensen from the Deus Ex series. He is the perfect representation of what I want to be in the future. He is a man who got really fucked up in a hostile takeover of his workplace, lost his arms, his legs, and he's got these like really cool cybernetic replacements. He's got like cybernetic across the like arms, the legs, most of his organs. He's got like these little panels on his face, and when he gets really serious, like sunglasses pop out and like close over his eyes. But if not for that, if anything, it's for the voice actor, the guy who does his voice. Elias Two Fixers probably has the sexiest voice on the planet. Like, this guy could admit to crimes to you, and it'd just be like, take me.
It's okay, just go. It's fine.
Describe
Yeah, actually, you want to describe it again in more detail this time.
His voice is just, like, if Gravel had a voice, it would be Elias Two Fixers' voice.
Okay, so you like deep, gravelly, smooth voices and robots.
Yeah, I have a type, apparently.
I guess, all right. Noted. Let's be awkward and move on. Do you plan on making, this is another sassy question.
Okay.
I'm going to read it how my brain read it. So it's not my tone. It's whoever asked this who is remaining anonymous. It was not me. Do you plan on doing any more Let's Plays? And do you plan on actually finishing one?
Oh, yeah, okay. Let's see, the claws have come out for this question. Yeah, actually, funnily enough, I do... Sorry, my camera died, so I've got to put it on charge, so there will be a cartoon representation of me until it gets fixed.
Can you put one, like, put Kovic there and put Winter there?
Okay, yeah, I can do.
Yeah. If you don't know Kovic, Kovic is the character that he plays when I play Winter. So, yeah, it's still us, just different versions of us. My Winter would ask you a question like this.
Yeah, it's a very Winter thing.
She would have asked it differently, but yeah, she would have asked you something like this. And not felt bad.
No, funny enough, this question was asked by a friend of mine the other day. I'm going to be returning to my Alien Isolation Let's Play very shortly. I don't know. It sounds like I'm making excuses for myself, but the Alien Isolation Let's Play bugged out, and I just lost motivation to finish that. When it came to like the Deus Ex, the Doom, and the Resident Evil Let's Plays, that was the first time my hard drive like hard crashed on me. I didn't just lose the capture footage for those. I lost all of scripts I was working on videos, all of the edits I had already made to specific videos. I lost everything. It's basically like my computer just factory reset itself, and it took the wind out of my sails big time on that. I mean, I would say I've also posted like shorter Let's Plays up that I've played finish to end, so technically I have kind of finished some Let's Plays, but, you know, semantics.
Honestly, something that big, right? Like, that's big. I feel like that needs its own Majora's Mask. Like, it's its own playthrough of the most depressing game you could think of, to try and bring yourself to the point where you're like, do I really want to set this up again? It'd be like if we got through this entire thing and you lost it and we had to redo it again. That it takes a lot to have to be able to like bring yourself back to the point where you want to go through it. I get it.
The most depressing one was I actually recently tried recording a game called Song of Horror. It was gifted to me on Steam by one of the other players in our group, Ash. Mm-hmm. And I set it up, and I probably played like a good 4 hours of it with the plan to separate it into smaller pieces. I put it into my video editor, lined all the audio up and pressed play, and I literally had the top left corner of the screen only. Because my screen is set to 4K resolution, but OBS is only set to record at 1080p. So...
That's tough. But that's actually pretty cool. So somebody was able to gift you a subscription to something and have you play through it. If somebody else like had a whatever game that they wanted you to play through, they could gift you that game on Steam?
Yeah, they could gift it to Steam. I can I mean, if you want my Steam name, just because I'm not comfortable giving that out entirely,
Sure.
you could inbox me again through like Facebook, Bonehead Studios email, or Instagram, and then either get the username off there, or you can just send me the Steam key and I will download it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick a really terrible game, like the worst, the one with the worst reviews, and make you play and drudge through it
God.
and watch your pain.
It won't be hard to find, not on Steam. It's basically its own category at this point.
The shit category.
Yeah.
Rejects. Nobody wants these. Okay. Let's see. What do you? You know what? I'm gonna flip ahead into a question that makes more sense. What is a game that you didn't expect to enjoy, but you ended up liking? Like, what game from that shit category is now out of the shit category into a like, hey, that was pretty good?
Probably my time at Porsche. Like, that game was in my shit category because I didn't bother with the tutorial. I just started up the game, skipped it. It's a farming game. How fucking hard can it be? And yeah, I regretted that.
It's not like a stereotypical man thing to avoid reading directions and instructions or anything.
No, it's not genetically imprinted into us.
Senior Dunna. It's all right.
But yeah, no, I screwed myself over by ignoring that tutorial. And when I finally got around to playing it again after playing Subnautica, which I don't know, that kickstarted something in me.
Yeah.
I quickly realised I put in like 110 hours into my time at Porsche. It's like the polar opposite of the kind of game I enjoy. Like, it's very slow pace. It's very like time organization, like resource allocation, time management. I think I might have already said that. But it's not the kind of game I like. I'm a simple man. I like explosions. I like guns. I like robot body parts. And
deep gravelly voices.
And deep gravelly voices. And this had none of that. But I still found myself putting so much time into building up like my little empire of like craftsmanship. I was fleshing out relationships with villagers. I got married at one point. Like, yeah.
You've got a whole different family over in your game.
Yeah, and she don't know about it, so it's like.
Do you have kids that we need to keep?
Yeah,
secret?
I've got a kid.
Oh
yeah.
God.
Yeah. Yeah, of all the places for it to come out, it's going to be on this video. Oh, God.
Okay, all right. Quickly moving on from that. No, it sounds like it's probably like I don't know, a chicken noodle soup, like just a comforting kind of like, hey, I just need something, something a little different, a little change of pace, and it's just on, I had a game like that through my phone. It was, well, not completely like that. It was called Dragonvale.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew it. It was on, it was iPhone only for a while, and then it was Android available. But it was something that I could mate dragons and create new dragons, and, then they would have to hatch, and there were always new dragons. And actually, I got really aggravated with it because I thought I had maxed it out. And then they were like, you know what? We're going to make more levels. And I thought I maxed it out again. And they wanted to make more levels again. But it's one of those stupid games where waiting is the game, or you spend a lot of money. Like, you can do everything you need to do, or you can buy it. And I do have a family member who spent a whole lot of money because waiting was not their game. But yeah, games like that can get you in trouble. But yeah, that was my go-to. Like, hey, I just want to go to my dragons and, see how Lucifer's doing over here. Lucifer was not a bad dragon, by the way. He was a really good dragon. It was just, ironic.
I've got a few friends called Damien. They're not the son of Satan.
Right, probably. Who knows? Yeah, so what is your favorite gaming moment of all time? Is it getting married and having a baby?
No,
not that one.
No, that kid's just a leech. He doesn't do his... Yeah. I'm not sure. Like, I used to tell the story about when I was playing Halo and I managed to get a Warthog, like one of the cars in the game, to do like just a million flips at once and then crush two guys.
Yeah.
But I was going through my achievements on Xbox last night and I realised I managed to get, on Metal Gear Solid 3, I managed to get a big boss rating, which is... you have to go through the whole game without killing anyone, without being seen. You can only take so much damage. You can only save so many times. It's like one of those things where you really have to plan out in advance what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And apparently at some point in the last 2 years I did it. I've got no recollection of it, but that's probably something I'm really proud of, just because, like...
I brought my light back. Sorry.
But yeah,
I was in the darkness and I need to be able to read. Continue.
No, that's fair. But yeah, no, like that Warthog story is cool and all. But I suppose now on YouTube you can find them all the time. But that's probably the first time I've played a game like that. Like I've 100% id games before, but that's probably like the hardest thing I've ever had to do, and I don't remember doing it, but I've got the achievement to prove it.
Are you sure it wasn't like your girlfriend? She just came and
maybe
unlocked it for you? You're taking credit for something that's not even yours, probably.
I do have this theory that she's secretly like a pro gamer, because there's times where I'm playing Call of Duty and she'll be sat next to me. She goes, well, "Why did you do that? Like, do this." And then she gets to jump, I don't do it. And I'm like, when did you become a professional that you can tell me how to do this?
She's moonlighting as a professional gamer. Her secret's out now, too.
Yeah,
got
exactly.
A secret family. She's a secret professional gamer.
Yeah, but I think I'm still in the wrong out of both of us.
Probably. You should probably just go with that. That'll keep you safe.
Yeah.
Are there any games that you're looking forward to playing?
Yeah. Oh, God, loads. The most obvious one, and the one that is taking priority at the minute, is the next Zelda game, Breath of the Wild 2, or whatever it's going to be called. You got Metroid Prime 4's coming out. The My Time at Porsche sequel's meant to be out at some point this year. My Time at Sandrock. There's a Resident Evil 4 remake coming out. Resident Evil 9. The next two Silent Hill games. Metal Gear Solid. Like, the list is endless. There are so many games that we either know are coming or are rumoured to be coming that I need in my life.
It sounds like the better question would have been, is there a game that you're not looking forward to play? That list would be shorter.
Yeah, it would be. I could literally just sum it up by the one category: sports games.
No NHL 22?
No, see, because the thing is, like, a little bit of a side tangent, like, video games like Zelda, Metal Gear Solid, like, you're not going to go out and shoot someone for real, you're not going to go and slay a dragon, but you can go out and play football, you can go out and do hockey. Like, sports games shouldn't exist, just for the simple fact that they are the one thing people can do.
That's interesting. So, in my house, that game was particularly popular for a while, and I always used to make fun of him because he would spend more time designing the uniform than actually playing the game. And of course, being me, I'm like, you could just get like a fashion exploration game or something like that. But yeah.
No, I get that though. Like, as much as I hate sports games, I completely get that.
Yeah, you could just sit for hours and make uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think? Because this is obviously that franchise is a game that just like it comes out year after year after year after year. What do you think?
So it wouldn't be a Bonehead video unless something went wrong during the editing process, and unfortunately, the files I had to work with were corrupted, as a couple of weeks ago when we actually recorded this, my hard drive crashed again, and though I was able to actually recover a fair amount of data this time, this section was unfortunately corrupted. So I'll read the questions out as I have them to hand, and I will give my answer and tack this on at the end. So I'm sorry if this is a little bit jarring, but at least we can get these questions finished and this section wrapped up. So the next question on the agenda was, what are my thoughts on remakes and remasters of video games? So my belief when it comes to remakes and remasters has always been that as fun as they are to have and as nice as it is to relive nostalgia with a new coat of paint, I think they are entirely necessary. The remasters more than the remakes, but because with how little it seems that developers, production companies seem to care about their older IPs and entries, video game conservation is largely left up to fans. Be that through ripping images off of discs in the forms of ISOs and ROMs, and unfortunately having to either pirate or emulate the game illegitimately. It seems like sometimes that's the only option we have. Again, because developers just really don't seem to care about their legacy. Especially when you have to consider as well that the hardware is not always going to be there. The hardware isn't always going to function. As time goes on, parts for it become more and more rare, or they become harder to manufacture, or there's just no demand for it enough to warrant the production of aftermarket parts for things like the original Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Atari Jaguar and such. So while that's the case, I believe remasters and remakes are kind of the next best official step. Just because it is a way of maintaining that game's legacy. I don't mean games like the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes where they were more just adaptions of the previous games. I'm talking more like the Reignited trilogy, the Insane trilogy, the Medieval remaster. Those kinds of games are more important than probably some people realise, because even though they are just graphically overhauled, they still function much the same. So, while it does suck that we aren't always going to have the hardware to hand, be it the consoles or the media itself, they will always live on in some way through either fans or through official and unofficial remakes and remasters. And the final question in the gaming section of this Q&A was, who is my favourite video game character? In the original footage, I again spoke about Adam Jensen and how cool he is being a cyborg and the cybernetic prosthesis and, you know, like taser knuckles and swords in the arms and shit. But thinking on it now, I think I can say that my favourite video game character is probably Tiny Tina from Borderlands 2. It's a discussion Wick and I had about halfway through this question when I actually did flip the coin and talk about her a little bit. So it does suck that we've missed out on like a little bit of the conversation there, but the reasoning behind me picking Tiny Tina is, under this facade of a hyperactive 11-year-old girl who just likes to blow shit up and freestyle some cringe raps at times, she is deceptively deep and complex as a character. If you dive into her backstory in Borderlands 2 with some of the echo logs you find, you realise that her parents and herself were sold to Hyperion by Fleshstick for iridium experimentation with slag. And it was through her mother smuggling a grenade and handing that off to Tina that Tina was able to escape by blowing a hole in the wall. This was kind of the stepping point for her to where she basically involved her life entirely around explosives, because it was ultimately an explosive device that saved her. Unfortunately, her parents didn't make it, and there are some rumours and theories that maybe Krieg is her dad, or something along those lines, although it's never really been proven or disproven to my knowledge at least. But in the Fight for Sanctuary DLC, there is a moment where the veil is kind of peeled away, and Tina has like this really out of nowhere heartfelt moment where she explains that if she stops moving, she feels like she will just die, like everything will crumble and slip from her. So she has no choice internally but to be this character, to be this hyperactive little mad woman kind of individual, which is heartbreaking if you think about the fact that an 11-year-old girl has had to adopt this persona and revolve her life around the one thing that saved her life because of one horrible person handing her and her family off like property to another, even more deranged, arguably, person. But with that, this is the end of the gaming Q&A segment. Thank you all so much for watching. The next 2 parts are going to be coming in a little bit later. There's a YouTube part coming up, which should come along with these. And then there are also 2 mega episodes of the Q&A where we discuss Dungeons and Dragons, which we made out to be about 2 hours long. So they'll be out a little bit later on. But as of this, all of the first 4 parts should be up by now. So if you have watched them all, or if you've made it all the way to the end of this video at the very least, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next part. Bye!